Thank you. This is my money. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Everybody was there but me. All right, thank you. Can I get, well, we don't need a motion to exit executive session. Mr. Saluka, can you allow the, minutes to show that we exited executive session at 7:27 PM? The executive session for the purposes of discussing legal matters and personnel matters.
So noted.
The next item on our agenda this evening is the board's area of discussion for our actual work session portion. And this evening, I would like to start our discussion portion with introducing State Representative Darnell Brewer to the Board of Education. Representative Brewer was elected in November to serve what's our new district number?
18.
District 18. Used to be 10, right? So District 11, yep. So to serve us in the House of Representatives in District 18. And he wanted to come this evening and introduce himself to the Board of Education, because as we know, our legislators on the State House is very important and impactful to the work we do here on the local level in the school district. So having strong relationships with our legislators so that we can work collaboratively, not just for the school district, but we're all residents of his district also. So any way that we can support him in not just improving the school district, but in improving our region and making sure that this district has fair representation in the Ohio House of Representatives. So Mr. Brewer, if you would like to come up.
All right, thank you. This is where I ask for your help. As you know, we are in the midst of the budget hearing. And one of the unique things about the budget hearing is there are so many different committees that's going on. So this is where I need your help. I need you to be vigilant with what's coming on down the pipeline. And the reason I say that is because in the budget, there is money now that's trying to be allocated for things such as charter schools. And we're not saying charter schools are bad, but what we're saying is we got to make sure public schools are funded as well. And not just funded as well, but also with the fair funding plan. So that's where I need your help. I need you to be an advocate for things like that. Second of all, I need you to be an advocate for the bills that are coming down that are going to be stripping some of the local school boards and also the state school board of some of their powers. You know what I'm saying? So I'm imploring you to please, let's get ahead of the game. There are already some districts out there who are already writing letters to myself and other state members. So I'm going to ask you all as a board and also any other individual members to do that the same, not just to me as your state legislator, but also other legislators as well. One of the unique things, we are positioned here in this district 18 and also Kyle County is the ranking member of the education committee is from Kyle County, which is Sean Brennan. And then the other ranking member of the secondary education committee is also from Kyle County as well, Phil Robinson. So we are covered, but we need your help. We want to make sure that Maple Heights is at the head of the table. And also have Maple Heights, Garfield, and Cleveland as well. But Garfield is the head of the table as well with Maple Heights. We know Cleveland gets a lot of attention. And sometimes, you guys get mixed in the shuffle. We want to make sure you're there at the table because we know when they leave Cleveland where they're coming to, Garfield and Maple. We know when they leave those charter schools and the money goes to the charter school and the charter school fill them up. And next week, Johnny does something bad and he has to go back to his regular school. Where does he go back to? Garfield and Maple. So that's why I'm here to introduce myself. I want you all to be vigilant. I want you to come down. And the last part of that is I implore you, please. One of the things I always hear from people who do this type of stuff when it comes to engaging our kids is that we don't bring our children down to Columbus when it comes to some of the school districts. Be Garfield, Maple, Cleveland, or whatever. They need to see the faces that are impacting their lives. They need to see the State House in its beauty and all the things that happen down there. There's a program that also gives you money towards bringing out, email that to you. I learned about that. They may give you offset some of the costs of bringing your students down there, but I implore you to start bringing students down there. Not only meet myself, my legislative aide, and also some other members as well. Even if you have time to come have them see the Supreme Court and sit on some committees, because we know what impacts down in Columbus comes back home. I am working on a couple of bills which may not impact you guys, so I want to give it to you first. Is universal school lunches and universal breakfast for a lot of the districts. I know you're Title One, so kind of doesn't affect you that much, but just in case, we're trying to get universal lunches and breakfast for students in around Ohio. The second part of that is we're trying to pilot a program, get funding for the pilot program, write legislation to offset some of the costs of what you're doing if you buy local and fresh fruits and vegetables and meat from local area places around here, whether it be farmlands, urban farming. So we're looking at it as well. So that's something to help you. And the third part of that is if you're doing that, some type of incentive to reconstruct your kitchens that you have to serve your young people to start serving fresh fruits, vegetables, and having them engagement when it comes to the menu. So we're looking at it as well. So a lot of these things are on the plate. We're just getting there. We haven't hit committees yet because of the things that are going on down there, but I want you guys to be ahead of the table. I want to be a resource. I want you to follow these committees. I want you to write us letters. I want you to write me letters so I can know what's going on. I unfortunately am not on the education committee. I am on the infrastructure, mental health, family and aging, and civil justice committee, but also been pointed to the fatherhood commission. So those are my priorities will be. But if you hear something coming down the pipeline, I'm going to try to get Representative Brennan to come to speak to you, all of my board members, so you can know what's going on. And also Rep. Bride Sweeting, who's been working on the Fair School Funding Plan. So you can know their faces. They need to see that they have some support here in Garfield, Maple, and Cleveland as well. So my number, if you need it in Columbus, is 614-466-1414, 614-466-1414. Rep 18 at ohiohouse.gov or Darnell Brewer at ohiohouse.gov. Cell phone number 216-832-8369. Yes, ma'am, I heard you. 216-832-8369. So if you guys want to text me some information, especially when it comes to bills and things of that nature, we need to get ahead of the game. We need to have a seat at the table. And I'm asking you to have a seat at the table with me. So if you hear about something coming down the line, when especially comes to the Education Committee, or you may hear something coming from some of the organizations that you deal with, please reach out to me. Let me know. Let my legislative assistant know so we can get it back to you ahead of time. Trust me, there's bills coming down the line to make database for teachers, to have mental health training for coaches. There's legislation coming down the line to have conflict mediation in all of the schools. There's legislation to come down for everything you can think of. So I'm going to try to compile those at least once a week, shoot them to you. So it'd be good to have some feedback on what is good for your district, what is not for your district. Because there's some things I may think that's good for the district, but may not jab up or add up to what's going on with the district. So that's my spiel. If you have any questions, feel free to take them.
Well, we do have a legislative committee here in which board member Ms. King is the chairperson of our legislative committee. We do meet monthly, right before our regular board meeting. And so having some of those initiatives that we can discuss could be helpful for us so that we can kind of set some goals and where we can charge and support things that are going to impact our students. Even though the things that you shared are not necessarily school-based, strong communities send strong students to school every day. And so having students with the proper resources and support in the community impacts education, even when it's not directly correlated or has education name on it. So the kids you serve in the community, we have to educate at school, and if the community prepares them, it gives us more room to spend our efforts and our resources on educating. So I thank you for the
Thank
things
you.
that you are initiating and moving forward. Even with your universal breakfast and lunch, you know, maybe it can really do some impactful things for like Title I districts as it relates to summer.
Yes.
You know,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
making sure that we have the resources to serve our kids, you know, all year long. So yeah, I thank you for coming today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
we look
Thank you.
forward to working with you and Ms. King being the chair.
I will be in touch.
Yes.
Thank
Because
you.
as you were
Committee.
talking, you know, I've got my list and I did my report last night, thinking I had to give it tonight, give you an update on a lot of the issues that are coming down the pipe.
Yes,
So I'll be
please.
sharing that next week with our board.
So there's a lot.
There's the, yeah.
Yeah, I just touched a little brief.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
veterans, being able to hire veterans, even
Yes.
though they're not certified teachers, the change in the financial literacy.
Yes,
We want
that's
to add
okay.
free market capitalism. So there's a lot, so I'll update.
Yeah,
you.
it's coming. So we
Forward
want to
to
make sure
it.
you
And
get.
then we'll be in touch.
Please. And also think of our school, our office as a resource as well. Anytime you want to commend a staff member or a student, I do have some accommodations that I'm putting forth together for some of your students, whether it be for perfect attendance, whether it be for sports, for winning a championship. Please reach out to our office because we want to make sure we acknowledge not only the students, but the parents and the teachers, because we want to install some type of pride when it comes to being an educator, a student, and a parent, and a community leader in the district. So consider myself a partner. Hope there's a partnership. We'll work good together. Anytime you need me, please reach out and call me.
Thank you. Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate Representative Bureau coming tonight because just as I said, if we wrap them in a community, then the school district can put more of our resources and focus towards educating our students. I got this little metaphor I use all the time that, you know, it's like going to the bank asking for a cheeseburger. We are a educational institution. And we have to do so many other things and have so many other responsibilities just to get to what we're designed to do. And if our children and our families can find those things within the community, then it gives us more space to actually serve the kids and educate them. And we enjoy being a partner. We're grateful that we have that opportunity, but we're also grateful for bills and initiatives and partners on different levels of government that is willing to do what it takes to support the community so that the school district can put majority of our focus on education. So I appreciate those efforts, and I'm looking forward to just moving our region and our students forward and these communities that Representative Brewer is productive and progressive, and be communities that people will be proud to continue to live in and build in. So I appreciate you today. The next item on today's agenda is tentative agenda review on our discussion portion. We're going to modify our discussion this evening to, we're going to do tentative agenda review and,
Madam Chair,
yes.
can I make a motion to table our book study discussion to, I don't know if we want to do next month or next week. It might be kind of busy next week. But can we table our book discussion for this evening? On this motion?
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Saluso?
There's no discussion.
Yes.
Well, if we table this to next month, do we also want to read chapter 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I think we should read chapter 2, and just so we can keep it fresh, I'll send you guys an email this week just about some discussion questions to kind of think about, and on a shared document, and we can kind of share what our thoughts is on this first chapter, and then kind of move forward, and then we'll virtually discuss it, and then we'll just kind of recap next month along with chapter 1. So I'll send that email out and we'll just kind of put our thoughts. That way we keep the work moving.
Yeah.
You know? And the book discussion that we're tabling is book study discussion on belonging to a culture of dignity. So that's the book study that we're doing as a Board of Education. So that was moved by me, Ms. Daniels, and is there a second to table that item?
Ms. Morrison, second.
Okay, Ms. Morrison. Can I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yes.
Ms. King,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas.
Yes.
As it relates to Ms. Thomas, is the minutes gonna show that she joined the meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Already noted, thank you.
okay, thank you. So our next item on the agenda is the tentative agenda review for our board meeting scheduled on Tuesday, February 21st. One amendment that needs to be made to the agenda is executive session, Ed,
Mhm.
for the purposes of discussing legal matters and personnel matters. And if we could put that on the back of the agenda, since this is a regular board meeting and we're at a building. So that'd be the last item on our agenda that evening. Dr. Reynolds, as it relates to the tentative agenda, is there anything you would like to highlight to the board that is on our agenda for the 21st?
Yes, unfortunately, there is a retirement that is coming that I'm very sad about. We will need to approve Ms. Sherry Bailey, who served the district for 34 years. I am saddened by that one. She's done a wonderful job, and she will definitely be missed. But don't want to open that up just yet. But that is an area that we will be approving. Maybe.
You ain't policy no more.
Also, we continue to try to identify organizations that will work with our children. So there are a few more opportunities. And yes, there are a variety of organizations that we're working with because there are a variety of children that we're attempting to serve. So these organizations, again, we are working to make sure there are some measures at the end of the program to ensure that there's been impact. Also, there are 2 items that will be added to the agenda. There are 2 positions that we're looking to receive approval from the board. There's a director of operations and also a director of data and response position that we're looking to approve. Those are the areas that really stand out. Some areas that need for you all to consider. Others are supplemental contracts for athletics, and that's pretty much covers it. Or any other items, Al, that you?
Yeah, just a couple there. One is the athletic fund is now going into a deficit funding. We talked about supporting the athletic fund. We talked about supporting the band fund and supporting Music Express. Right now, the athletic fund needs the support. So I'm proposing to transfer $75,000. That'll cover the deficit, and then reevaluate at the end of the fiscal year to just see how much the athletic fund needs to stay in the black at fiscal year end. And I think next year, once again, Mr. Krasnowick needs to come to the board early on in the process and give his proposed budget and his needs assessment at that time, so the board can decide just how much they want to and need to support the athletic fund. But right now, I'm just proposing to transfer to cover the current deficit balance.
So I have a question. Why is it an athletic fund, band fund, music express fund versus just the student
Each fund was,
activities?
right, each fund was set up separately under the or a district managed activity fund, not a student managed activity fund. So each one has their own budget and their own separate funding structure. And each one has their own different funding needs.
So are we looking to approve 75,000
Right.
more
We have
on
not,
top of what he already asked for this?
well, we haven't given him anything yet.
Okay,
We haven't, the board has not approved any transfer. We talked in generalities of supporting the athletic fund, but we really haven't talked about, last year the board supported him with 145,000.
okay.
This year he came a little late to the table. I think the came when we were at the high school
Yeah,
in November, I
it's
think, or December. And we talked about the needs, but there's, we switched some security stuff and everything else. So we're trying to balance that out because we really didn't know, one is what it was going to look like, the final numbers for football, depending on how many fans were allowed in and everything else. Now basketball the same way, how we were going to limit that. So I think now this is a gauging factor of just exactly where we're at this point in time and then where he's going to end the year up. And I think that'll be setting the tone for the next school year because there is going to be some other issues. One is we know for a fact that we're not going to be able to play any home games at our field. So what's the impact to the athletic fund by not having our own, concessions or our own, admission? How many people are going to travel to? What's the rent going to be? Another field. So, he needs to work all that out and find out what that cost will be and present to the board. I want to say next August and get that all worked out.
Before August, don't they start playing in August?
Well, I'm talking about the athletic fund overall, what he's going to need for the year. He should know the cost by August, and this is for the fiscal year to bring the budget to the board and his needs assessment. That's the same that the high school principal probably at the same time is going to bring the needs assessment for the band and for Music Express for the next year. They had a lot of carryover from the original due to the COVID and the shutdown, so they didn't need as much as the athletic fund does. But I think now that they're full blown back into what they do, they're going to need money next year. So that's the principal to bring that, and the athletic director to bring that budget in August.
So student activities, can you clarify, do you just handle high school or district-wide?
District-wide, every club, every class, every district managed, and I'll give examples of National Honor Society, band, Music Express, dance line, athletics. What was the other one they used to have? Academic Challenge had their own fund where they raise money.
Mm-hmm.
So, but student activities is more of there's classes or maybe the chess club or the other types of clubs where they call student managed activities versus district managed activities.
Okay. So when we do the 75,000 or when Dale comes to us for this budget, does it support middle school sports too? So
It should. Yeah.
Okay.
When you're the athletic director, I'm going to say this. When you're the athletic director, you're athletic director over the whole district.
Okay.
As far as funding sports. Not just middle school has their own athletic director, but that's more towards, scheduling, getting the coaches, making sure everything is working down there, and everything is in place when teams come in to do a competition, whether it be football, basketball, wrestling, volleyball, softball, baseball. The athletic director at the middle school schedules and all that in with their teachers down at the middle school. Because the athletic director of high school and the overall district still has their high school stuff to deal with.
So
But they oversee all athletics,
with
theoretically.
the football situation in the field next year, could it possibly, the cost of rental, could it possibly impact us with our pay to play status and stuff like that? Or is there any districts willing to give us some mutual aid and, support us? Are we gonna maybe try to look for those relationships. You know, can we afford to rent?
I think that's the question that the athletic director needs to
Okay.
answer. What he's working on to do that.
Okay. Yeah, that's just something I was just
Yeah.
thinking, you know, can we afford it? And
Mm-hmm.
how will that impact student athletes, and will we have to possibly, you know, I'm glad that we're able to give I would like for us to continue to do whatever we can and make sure that our students have the opportunity to play without the financial barrier. Because we know there's some social economic barriers to our students if they had to pay to play.
And then the other one I had on there was a high school got a call from Mrs. Juby wanting to establish a scholarship fund for Mr. Juby, the Courage Scholarship. And they want to work that through the school. So in order for us to establish that fund, the board has to accept it. And then we establish a fund in his name in the expendable trust funds of the school district's fund structure.
Is there any questions relative to the things that Dr. Reynolds and Mr. Saluka highlighted in our agenda for Monday?
I have a few questions.
Tuesday.
The operations and data positions, are we planning to approve candidates for those two positions or approve that the positions be posted?
Yes, just approving the job description.
Okay. And then, of those contractors that we have listed, are some of them already working in the district and it's just like a renewal or a continuation?
Yes, one of them is actually working in the district, but on a smaller level.
Okay.
We decided to expand the number of grade levels that the I Am Bella program actually. And I believe that we have worked with UNIL, yep, and we've worked with the other companies as well.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one request, Dr. Reynolds. Can I have I just would like to see a organizational chart as to where these new positions will fall on the org chart. And if you could share that with me and the rest of the board, that will help us to see how these new positions flow within the district. Is there any other questions? What is this lifestyle employment assistance program?
It's EAP.
Uh-huh.
So it's a program that we work with the Cleveland Clinic when we're either legal advice or they offer mental health or just basically a counseling service for all employees in the district.
Okay. Some people call it EAP.
Yes.
Okay. I never seen it where like Cleveland Clinic, facilitated.
It's a partnership that we've had the last 4 or 6 years. And then there's just a contract is up. They asked us to reapprove the contract.
And this is a part of employee benefits, correct?
Correct.
If there's nothing else. There's no other questions for the tentative agenda review. Did anybody have any Board of Education training updates they wanted to share?
Madam President,
Ms. King?
it's not really a training per se, but I want to share, on January 30th, I went to the Northeast Ohio Ohio School Board Association's Northeast Ohio's Town Hall at Shaker High School, where they talked about, we got an overview of PLASBA, an overview of how it all evolved, and so we got that history. Also about the conference coming up. We also learned more about where our membership dues that we pay to OSBA, where that goes. And Mr. Bobo was very open and said, please call him if we have any questions, and also showed us where on the website you can go and see all of the things that are accessible to the district, and just encouraged us to utilize it because we're paying for it. We also heard from Jennifer Ho, and she gave us some of those legislative updates and what's coming down the pike. I won't go through all of it. Rep Brewer talked about some of them. I mentioned a couple, but I'll give more thorough update next week. But it was good to see. It was a good representation from all over Northeast Ohio, Akron, Cuyahoga Falls, all over. So it was a good representation of, local. We had East Cleveland, people that we haven't typically seen at some of our events, or districts. I won't say people, districts. So it was a snowy and slippery evening, but glad to have it in our backyard.
Yeah.
And didn't know that Reno, who's our Northeast Ohio, I don't know what his position is. He's the leader of the North Regional Director.
Yeah.
He lives right in Old Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So he's right here in our backyard, but this is the first time we've had something like this close. It's always been Tuscarora, and Sally Green was there.
Oh, wow.
So it was a nice evening. Good to see everybody.
Thank you for representing us.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
I know what it's like.
Yeah.
Is there any other trainings to update? If there's no other trainings or anything else, any other matters for discussion today? If there's no other matters for discussion, can I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:59 PM?
So moved.
Second. That was moved by Ms. King, and second by Ms. Thomas. Can I have roll call, please?
Ms. King,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Isom,
Yes.
Ms. Morrison,
Yes.
Mrs. Daniels.
Yes, meeting adjourned.
How did it come out of executive session?
We came out at